All right, today we're on the hunt for the oldest cemetery in America. We're here on Cape Cod in the town of Barnstable, Massachusetts at the Cobb Hill Cemetery. Our journey will begin here and will end in Duxbury, Massachusetts at the Myles Standish Burial Ground, which is the oldest maintained cemetery in the United States. It's also the final resting place of many of the Pilgrims that came over on the Mayflower in the year 1620. Let's check it out. Of the three graveyards we'll be visiting today, the Cobb Hill Cemetery is by far my favorite. This hauntingly beautiful cemetery sits atop a hill overlooking the historic Barnstable village and the nearby harbor. Cobb Hill is not open to new burials, and all of the gravestones here appear to be very old and yet remarkably well preserved. Let's read some of these old stones and see what we can learn about those who are remembered here. To the memory of Abigail Monroe, wife of the late Daniel Monroe of Boston and oldest daughter of Jana Parker of Roxbury, born January 30th, 1755, died May 1st, 1844. Truly devoted as a Christian, her life was tranquil and happy, her death peaceful and resigned. Sacred to the memory of the Honorable Daniel Davis, Esquire, who died April 22nd, 1799, in the 86th year of his age. Reader, be encouraged by his example to the practice of industry, temperance, piety, and patriotism, and your reward, like his, shall be lifelong, the esteem of the wife and good in this world, and the joyful hope of a happy immortality beyond the grave. So as I'm walking around here in the cemetery, I'm looking for older dates or names, anything that catches my eye of interest. And sure enough, there was a name, Bacon, last name Bacon, which for whatever reason caught my attention. Everybody loves bacon, right? So I started looking at some of these stones, and I realized that there's a whole row dedicated to Bacon here. In fact, this whole section of the graveyard is all with the last name Bacon. So I'm trying to find the oldest one that I could. Captain Samuel Bacon died in a Jersey prison ship, 1781. Sometimes called floating dungeons or ghost ships, the prison ships were nothing more than floating concentration camps. Some 11,000 prisoners died aboard the prison ships during the Revolutionary War, many from disease, malnutrition, or even torture. One of these ships was the notorious HMS Jersey, which earned the nickname Hell for its inhumane conditions and the obscenely high death rate of its prisoners. Captain Alexander Coffin, who somehow survived 2 stints aboard a prison ship, described his experience as, quote, "the most deplorable situation, mere walking skeletons, without money and scarcely clothes to cover their nakedness, and overrun with lice from head to feet." So, interesting little side note, as I was making this video, I got an email notification from Zillow of a condo up for sale here in Barnstable. Turns out I recognized the name on the address. It's the Bacon Farm. And as you can see, it's a gorgeous house. According to the real estate websites, it was built in 1880. All right, we've made our way to our second location. We're still here in the town of Barnstable, in the Lothrop Hill Cemetery. Now, this is one of the oldest cemeteries on Cape Cod, and the oldest known burials date back to the year 1653. Well, we just made our way from the street all the way to the far end of the graveyard. This cemetery is still open to new burials, and all of the historic ones are up here on the road. So I'm headed back to the front here, and we're going to see if we can find some of these stones that date back to the 1600s. In memory of Benjamin, son of Samuel and Sarah Childs. Died March 13th, 1826, aged 3 years and 8 months. So fades the lovely blooming flower. So I've been looking for a stone that is older than the last one we found, which was, if you remember, Samuel Bacon, who died in 1781. So now this one I couldn't get a reading on the entire thing, but I will just show you the date here. As you can see, it's dated 1754. So we're really getting back there. Let's head on to the next graveyard in Duxbury, Massachusetts, and see if we can find ones that are even older than that. All right, we've made our way to our final destination. We're here in Duxbury, Massachusetts, at the Myles Standish Cemetery. Now, according to the ACA, the American Cemetery Association, this is the oldest maintained cemetery in the United States. It's also the final resting place for many well-known pilgrims who arrived on the Mayflower in the year 1620. Let's check it out. The Myles Standish Burial Ground is a 1.5-acre cemetery located in the town of Duxbury, Massachusetts. This site was the location of Duxbury's first meeting house, which was operational from the years 1638 through 1789, at which time the cemetery was abandoned. In 1887, there became a growing interest in locating the resting place of Duxbury's most famous colonist, Myles Standish, and so the old burying ground was reclaimed. After 2 exhumations, in 1889 and again in 1891, it was generally agreed that Myles Standish's remains had been located, although this has never been definitively proven, and a new memorial was built over his gravesite. Myles Standish was an English military officer who accompanied the Pilgrims on the Mayflower and played a leading role in the administration and defense of the Plymouth colony since its foundation in the year 1620. The following year, in 1621, the colony militia elected him as its first commander and continued to re-elect him for the remainder of his life. Standish's military leadership was very effective, though often criticized due to his proclivity for preemptive action. He led at least 2 attacks against the local Native Americans, during which Standish exhibited courage and skill as a soldier. However, he also demonstrated a brutality that angered the natives and disturbed more moderate members of the colony. The oldest recorded burial, as I understand it, belongs to John Alden, who was a crew member aboard the Mayflower, responsible for maintaining the ship's barrels, a job he landed at the age of 21, due in part to his useful skills as a barrel maker and carpenter. Because he was a crew member and not a passenger, it was planned he would return to England. However, he decided to stay and join the Pilgrims as a colonist. Perhaps it had something to do with the fact he married fellow passenger Priscilla Mullins. Sadly, Priscilla's entire family died during the first winter in Plymouth. Many Pilgrims died the first winter. In fact, it wasn't until the native people taught them how to forage for food and how to survive the harsh New England winters that they were able to survive. The marriage of the young couple made its way into pop culture. A poem written in 1858 inspired widespread depictions of John and Priscilla in art and literature during the 19th and 20th centuries. These commemorative headstones were placed in 1930 to honor John and Priscilla Alden. Well, I guess that's it. The oldest grave in the oldest cemetery in America. Does that make it the oldest grave in the USA? Who knows? Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. Ferris Bueller. Well, that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and leave a mean comment. Thanks for watching.